a scientific and logical rebuttal to the critique of the ontological argument. Scope and method. This response evaluates Barry S. Goldberg's critique using the scientific method and basic logic. The scientific method asks clear questions, tests claims against evidence, distinguishes categories, and rejects conclusions that exceed the data. When a claim is not empirical, science withholds judgment rather than refutes it. That boundary matters here. Step 1. Define the question correctly. Goldberg treats the ontological argument as if it were a scientific hypothesis about physical reality. It is not. The ontological argument is a metaphysical argument about being, necessity, and logic. Science studies contingent phenomena within space and time. Metaphysics studies what must be true for anything to exist at all. Confusing these domains creates a category error before the argument even begins. A scientific method response does not say, "This lacks empirical evidence," when the claim is not empirical by nature. It asks whether the claim violates logic or contradicts known facts. Goldberg repeatedly demands empirical proof for a claim that does not claim to be empirical. Step 2. Test the charge of circular reasoning. Goldberg claims Anselm defines God into existence. This misstates the structure of the argument. Anselm does not define God as existing. He defines God as a maximally great being. The argument then asks whether necessary existence follows from maximal greatness. Circular reasoning would require the conclusion to appear in the premise. It does not. The premise does not say God exists. It says God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. The existence claim is derived, not assumed. One may reject the derivation, but calling it circular is inaccurate. A scientific parallel helps. If one defines a triangle as a three-sided polygon and later derives that its interior angles sum to 180 degrees in Euclidean space, one has not defined that property into existence. One has reasoned from definition to implication. Step 3. Evaluate the claim about perfection and existence. Goldberg argues that existence cannot be a perfection. This objection echoes Kant, but it misunderstands the claim. The argument is not that existence adds a property like color or size. It is that necessary existence differs from contingent existence. Science itself relies on this distinction. Laws of logic and mathematics do not depend on physical instantiation. They are necessary truths. Physical objects are contingent. They may or may not exist. If a being is defined as maximally great, contingency becomes a limitation. A being that can fail to exist is not maximally great in the same sense as one that cannot fail to exist. This is not a matter of taste or poetry. It is modal logic. Necessary versus contingent is a real distinction used in physics, mathematics, and philosophy. Step 4. Address the unicorn and chair analogies. Goldberg's analogies fail because they ignore necessity. Unicorns are contingent by definition. Chairs are contingent by function and design. Neither is it even proposed as a necessary being. Replacing God with unicorn breaks the argument because unicorns are not defined as metaphysically necessary. The substitution test fails. In science, when an analogy collapses under substitution, the analogy is flawed, not the original model. Step 5. Examine the Descartes critique. Goldberg dismisses Descartes by pointing out that human perception can be mistaken. This is true but irrelevant. Descartes explicitly grounds his argument in rational intuition rather than sensory perception. Mathematics works the same way. One does not empirically test the number 2. Rejecting rational intuition would undermine mathematics, logic, and theoretical physics. Science uses rational intuition constantly. It simply checks it against coherence and contradiction. Goldberg does not show a contradiction in Descartes' premises. He only states distrust of intuition. That is not a refutation. It is a preference. Step 6. The nebulous God objection. Goldberg claims that even if the argument worked, it would only prove a vague God. This criticism changes the target. The ontological argument does not attempt to prove revelation, miracles, or worship practices. It addresses existence, not theology. In science, proving that matter exists does not explain chemistry. Proving gravity exists does not explain aerodynamics. Establishing existence is a first step, not the whole system. Rejecting an argument because it does not do more than it claims is not a valid critique. Step 7. Scientific method verdict. Hypothesis. A maximally great being exists necessarily. Test for contradiction. None demonstrated. Test for category error. Goldberg commits one by demanding empirical proof. Test for logical fallacy. Circular reasoning not shown. Alternative explanation offered. None that addresses the necessity. Under the scientific method, when a claim is non-empirical and internally coherent, science withholds judgment. It does not declare the claim false. Goldberg repeatedly declares falsehood without demonstrating contradiction or impossibility. Conclusion. Goldberg's critique does not refute the ontological argument. It rejects it on methodological grounds that do not apply. He demands empirical evidence where none is claimed, dismisses rational necessity while relying on it elsewhere, and substitutes analogies that fail under logical scrutiny. A scientific and logical analysis does not prove the ontological argument true by default. It shows that Goldberg has not disproven it. His conclusion exceeds his method. Thanks for watching.